It's Monday, October 7th, 2013. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight, cooling small rooms filled with servers.
Answer, wait till winter.
Actually, it's worse in winter. Let's do this. So I'm starting to realize something when it comes to this consumer level media equipment. Because remember when podcasting got really big in like 2005?
When the iPod Nano came out.
Yep.
And they added podcasts to iTunes. That's when it got big.
But then there were all these consumer level mixers started appearing, but they at least had mostly the trappings of real mixers. Like they had the same kinds of features, just much cheaper and not as well put together, but they were there. But there were also those sort of podcasting appliances and podcast
There were a
ready
lot of
USB.
It was mostly a lot of things like, what was that company? M Audio. They made like these interfaces. It was like plug an XLR microphone into this interface and into your computer with a USB. Or here's a microphone that's big fancy microphone that's good for podcasting, but is just USB microphone. You plug it into your computer and talk.
Yep, but basically, because I knew audio, I kind of ignored all that stuff and used real equipment from the beginning. And I know, Scott knows a lot about computer audio as it pertains to surround sound and receivers and making all that work. He's talked about it.
That's home theater knowledge mostly.
But also the
But I know how to get a
PC
PC into a home theater, yes.
And then I know the production, routing, mixers, aux, whatevers, insert
If
TRS.
you want me to set up your home theater in the most perfect way, I can do it as good as anyone on earth can do it with any equipment, as long as you have the right shit and the right cables for monoprice. I will charge, I don't know, a lot for that service.
An unreasonable amount.
You have to pay to get me to your house.
But I've noticed something because Scott and I both bought the Elgato, which is this little device that you plug it into a USB.
I bought it on sale at PAX.
I bought it for $10 more than you paid at PAX.
20.
No, actually 10 because it was still on sale on Amazon.
Whoa.
It was cheaper on Amazon when I bought it than it was when you looked it up from the floor at PAX.
Whoa.
But it was still more expensive than what you paid on the floor at PAX, and I did not get the free t-shirt and poster that you gave away to that kid.
That I did not need filling up my house into my
Well, you
garbage
gave
can.
one away to the kid, and then the kid was a greedy little shit and wanted the other one too, so you gave it to his friend.
Yeah.
But anyway, the Elgato works pretty well, but then we got this rig as well, which is a headset that we'll talk about later. And looking at how both of these things work, I realized something kind of profound that should have been obvious, but I hadn't really thought about it until just now. Most people, because now there's a big push, kind of like how podcasts had this push, streaming video games seems to be the thing now.
Twitch.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
been the thing for a while.
But it's starting to ramp up, and that people who weren't doing it before are starting to do it.
Like
and there's
you?
a lot of and there's a lot of interest in it.
As soon as you do it, then it's a trend. You trendsetter you. It
No,
wasn't a trend already, and you're bandwagoning. You're not. You're always leading the bandwagon. You're not getting on the bandwagon.
I'm definitely on the trailing edge of this bandwagon.
You are soundly in the middle of the bandwagon.
I'm on the back
Four
end of it.
wheels are surrounding your
I'm
butt.
not saying I'm the trendsetter. I'm saying the opposite. I'm saying this trend was going, and it's starting to get bigger. And what's happened...
Too many people in the wagon with you now, hipster.
Nah.
Gotta get out.
My problem is this. The technology that people are using to do this stuff is, by and large, pretty poorly designed with terrible use cases, and it's almost like people who are into gaming wanted things to support their gaming streaming, but don't know the right way to do any of these things and solve the problems as they perceive them rather than doing what, I don't know, real video and audio professionals have been doing for decades.
Right. Well, it's like, look, the most people use OBS, which is Open Broadcaster Software, which is this free open source thing that basically you run it, it looks at your screen, right? Takes those images, encodes them, and streams them. That's what it does. And XSplit does a similar thing, but XSplit costs money. OBS is free, open source, whatever. But it's kind of buggy. Sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes XSplit is buggy and crashes, right? And that seems to be the method the vast majority of people use for streaming. When people really mostly only stream PC games or emulated games on their PC using this method. And there's really no other method available to 99% of people. I mean, friggin' even SaltyBet uses this kind of thing.
But like, here's my example. The Elgato has HDMI in, HDMI out, so you put it in stream and then like in your video
The Elgato
stream.
is the only way that the only way I know of that someone, consumer product wise, that someone can stream their Xbox or PS3 or Wii or something like that directly without having fancy equipment that they won't have. It's like the affordable, consumer-friendly solution to that problem, which is why I have it.
But the kinds of issues it has, like it just doesn't recognize all the interfaces on professional audio equipment. So you have to use ghetto audio equipment with it.
Well, that's the problem in the software, actually.
Exactly. Because the kinds of people who are using these things, by and large, don't know a lot about this stuff, and it's really geared toward them. And if you have a complex use case that has a lot of issues, and also basic stuff like if you unplug it, it just stops displaying your stream.
Yep.
Like it blocks your TV. Not even just the local device, it also blocks the TV itself.
Yep.
But it's the same way with the rig, this headset, because as Scott pointed out, it has two interfaces, a USB interface and then an 1/8-inch stereo interface, so it can receive and send. It can receive audio from two sources and send audio from one.
Right. The whole point of that is so that you can say, you can go to the Skype options or the Ventrilo options or the TeamSpeak options and say, hey, yeah, you take your microphone input from USB and your microphone and your audio output to USB. And then you go to the game you're playing and you say, game, send your audio output of this game to the speakers. That way, you could use this hardware slider on the rig to basically make your friends on Skype louder or TeamSpeak louder and the game quieter, or vice versa, and sort of mix between the two. And that's why there's two interfaces.
Why the 1/8-inch stereo to plug into your other sound card? Why isn't it just one USB with two interfaces in it?
Because that would cost more, and then the mixer wouldn't be this sort of, that mixer that they're using is probably a cheap analog thing inside that hockey puck, whereas if it was, two interfaces, that mixing would have to happen digitally, which means there would have to be more processing power in the rig itself to do that.
But also looking at the way it interfaces with like Xboxes, with these pass-throughs and things, like the kinds of cables that it wants you to connect to things really just make it look kind of pathetic next to any real equipment.
Of course.
So I've been having this issue lately.
Buy real equipment.
Yeah, but at the high end, a lot of the higher end equipment, the software in games just doesn't deal with it well.
Of course not.
Try to use a FireWire interface 8 out of 17 as your microphone input for a game, and a lot of games will be like, what?
And now this is even the most basic thing that people go through when they set up those booths at conventions that have all those game systems.
Yeah.
Right? Think about the people that have like the giant video screens or the video walls or like the multi-monitor setups, or every booth you've seen at PAX where tons of crazy computers set up in all these weird ways, playing demos, right? It's crazy. And then they have like little servers for the LAN, like inside the little booth. This is like the entry level of those kind of problems those people face.
But it's one of those things where like a lot of the people who try to do audio production or podcasts or a little studio, like they set up their mixers and everything. And I was looking at forums for both the rig and the Elgato to answer some questions because the documentation is kind of sparse. And I saw the kinds of questions the average users of these are asking.
They have no clue of anything that's going on.
And it really makes it clear why the software is the way it is. But I see a lot of people, they'll rig up all these cables plugged in all over the place to do some sort of audio thing that could have been done entirely in their software they already have if they just knew to right-click on the mixer in Windows.
Yep. People don't know how to use that shit.
Yep, which has been a theme in Geeknights since about 2005.
Anyway.
So you got any news? It's a Monday.
Why don't we talk about
the lounge?
Yeah, why don't we talk about Adobe losing all their passwords and shit?
Oh, Adobe. Usually I make fun of this. We both make fun of this. Haha.
This happens a lot, and it never happens to anywhere I have a username and password.
I know. So now it happened to something we use. And our friend Conrad pointed this out. The reason this one sucks in particular is because it's not like there's another option. It's not like there's another company that makes software like this.
Yeah.
Like, what am I going to do if I don't like the fact that they have kind of bad security? Stop doing things? Stop doing my job?
Yeah. You're sort of stuck with Adobe no matter what. They got ye old monopoly, sort of like the cable
and
company
now they
on
got
South
ye
Park.
old poorly secured database.
Yeah.
I don't understand how this keeps happening. How is your database?
How is your? I mean, we have at work. We got MySQL databases. I'm pretty sure no one can get into them unless it was an inside job. How would you get in there?
Yep, but then again, this is databases. Remember, these systems are accessible to the outside with their Adobe updaters and their account management.
Why is your database directly accessible without some sort of layer of application between it and the world?
That application itself is probably what was compromised.
That's
A lot of times there'll be a customer portal and someone does some sort of attack to get that portal to start dumping records one by one.
Why did you write your portal so shittily?
Because there's literally no incentive to write them better.
Perhaps.
This in no way affects Adobe. There is literally...
Only if they didn't have Monopoly, it would.
Even if they had Monopoly, the average user of these things does not care at all.
They probably just go, damn it, I got to change my password.
I mentioned this at work, and nobody even knew what happened. People who pay for Adobe.
People don't read the internet.
Granted,
a lot of me, you know,
I
what,
did
you
not
wanna
get an
hear
email from Adobe, so my account wasn't compromised. So I don't know what you're doing wrong, Scott.
Yeah, so remember we talked last time, I think, about the Google Glass. Like, is that Google Glass? Right? So people have been saying that more lately. And my response is...
Wait, they've stepped up their game. They've gone from to... They recognize that Google Glass is
no,
a
they
thing.
say, is that Google Glass?
No, so they
Which is-
recognize... They know the term Google
Sure.
Glass.
And my response lately has been, what else could it be? And they're sort of like... Oh, it's like I don't know. Maybe some other company was making a thing. I don't know what Google Glass looks like. So the people don't read internet. Read internet. Join. Yep. Otherwise, basically, as soon as you confirm to me that you don't read internet, I now view you as a 20th century person. I'm a 21st century person, and you don't fit in with me.
Oh, look at all the provincial plebs.
Look at all the old people. Oh, you're only 18? You don't read internet? Old person. Read internet. That way you'll know what the fuck is going on.
Thing is, you didn't know about what does the fox say.
That is not as important.
Not as important? Who are you to
There are
judge?
plenty of things I know about that you don't know about on internet.
All right. Name one.
All
right, let's go.
Did you? Let's go.
Should we play? We need to play some sort of game of back and forth until someone fails.
Someone
until there's a mutual
fails.
fail. Maybe we should do that as its own episode.
Did you know about the pink flags in the NFL?
I imagine it has something to do with breast cancer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you don't know what the deal is.
Do they just throw a pink flag every time someone goes to second base on the field? Like what?
Second base? It's not baseball.
So there's something you don't know.
They go to second base on the field. Okay. Let's move on.
Gonna try to steal home? Is that what you're going for now? We made Emily laugh. I win.
All right.
Okay. So, unrelatedly, there's a lot of NSA news, and you guys really should be reading
Haven't
that
we
stuff
gone
too.
over that? We went over that news before it even happened.
So, yeah, do that. And when I was in high
Go
school...
look to the Geeknights archive. How many episodes can you find where we talk about that sort of shit?
Dude, if you know the kinds of BBSs I used to post to when I was in like middle school and you go to them, you'll see me complaining about basically what the NSA is doing today.
Yep.
So, one of these secret court orders, this is a specific tiny thing related to the NSA that I think you should all be really aware of. Lavabit.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't even know what Lavabit is.
Nope.
Lavabit does secure communication and
They
stuff.
did.
Cool, but did.
It was a place where you could get a super secure email account where everything was encrypted and it was awesome. And
Cool
anonymous,
place.
yeah.
Run by cool people.
You can't get it anymore.
So, they got one of those secret court orders where they had to do stuff, and if they said anything, jail.
So what he did is he just shut it down, and he said, I'm shutting it down, and he didn't say anything else.
Yep. So, eventually, he won a victory in court, and he was able to, and it's complicated how he
Didn't
did
the EFF
this.
help him or something? I don't know.
Someone helped him. I'm skipping all the political stuff and just get to
Right.
the tech part. So, basically, he won disclosure. The ACLU did straight up help him here.
Okay.
So, apparently, the FBI had demanded that they turn over their root SSL certificate.
Mm-hmm.
That has serious implications if that's the kind of thing that these secret court orders are demanding, because the people who are served them have basically no way to fight back. And I won't blame anyone who, if their choice is, my life is fucked forever, or I give the encryption keys for all of my users over to the government secretly. I'm not going to fault anyone who does the latter.
Okay, so here's the
I
thing.
might do the former, but I will not blame you that much if you buckle
I do
down.
not fault someone for complying with the court order and not having their life fucked. I agree. But I do fault him in another way.
The fact that he was going to hand it over anyway?
No.
Okay, because there's a lot more to the story beyond
When you
this.
make an SSL certificate or when you make an SSH key, you can encrypt it with a passphrase. If it is encrypted with a passphrase, this is known law. Even I know this law,
Yep.
right? That if the government has warrants and all that stuff that they need, they can say, give us the key to your house, and you give them the key. But if it's a combination safe, and they say, give us the combination, you say Fifth Amendment, and give them the finger, right? Same thing. They say, give us the SSL key. Here you go. Tell us the password to decrypt the SSL key. Fifth Amendment, give them the finger. If you didn't put a password on your SSL, then how secure was Lavabit really to begin with? They didn't do something so basic. So basic.
So the more sad implication is that with secret court orders, what if they say, also give us the password or we'll fuck you? What do you do?
Fifth Amendment, here's my fingers.
Yeah, so what if they just arrest you? What do? You can't fight it legally. If you
I will,
speak up...
If I have my Fifth Amendment, I'm going to keep using it. Once I've gone down that road, I can't not go down that road.
Now, he did a bunch of awesome things along the way. He complied by printing it out.
That's also cool.
He
cool.
printed it out and he handed it to them.
Yeah, I print it out, hand it to him, and don't tell him the passphrase at the same time.
Yep, and the FBI complained. Quote, to make use of these keys, the FBI would have had to manually input all 2,560 characters.
Without error.
Yes, and one incorrect
I would use-
keystroke
I would
in
use-
this laborious process would render the FBI system incapable of collecting decrypted data.
I would use OCR
Now,
to get
from
it
what
in there.
I can gather, I didn't read it fully, the court order didn't necessarily say specifically hand over the keys. It said, give us the capability to read all your users' traffic.
Fifth Amendment, to my fingers. Why don't you smell them?
Oh, no, because
Why
you
don't you
can't.
pull them?
You're not incriminating yourself. You're giving data on other people.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Oh.
Now, here's the implication.
But what if I can be convicted of aiding and abetting them by providing the system? Then I would be implicating myself. So at least based on just logic and not based on necessarily law that I don't know.
No.
So
We should not. We're not lawyers.
Obviously.
We're just.
we always, if someone listening to this thinks that I'm a lawyer,
Godspeed to you, good sir.
here is my legal advice to you. Rob a bank once in a town far away from where you live. Tell someone you're going on vacation like Europe. Go to Kansas, rob a bank in a complete, covering your entire body head to toe in black. And then never go back, launder the money through Bitcoins or some shit like that.
Scott, as your lawyer, I'm going to advise you that is a terrible option because, one, advice my dad gave me as when I was young, never rob a goddamn bank.
Rob
you'll
a
get one,
restaurant
you'll go to
when
federal prison.
right.
Two, there's not any money in there.
Rob a restaurant when the armored car is about to, pick up the money.
Not a restaurant, not a sit-down
A big
restaurant.
time,
because
yeah.
sit-down restaurants all get paid in
Some
credit
place
cards
that has
and
a
charge
ton of
cards.
cash.
You want to rob a submarine shop or a burger joint or a place that
The
deals
popular
mostly
place like a Shake Shack.
that deals mostly in cash lunch crowd, and you want to figure out when their armored car comes and come the day before.
Yep. Also, if the armored car comes and he's got 4 boxes on a trolley of cash, take one of the boxes and run. He won't abandon 4 boxes to go rescue one of them. He's got to stay with those 4, and make sure you have a friend nearby
Who grabs the other one?
If he's stupid and abandons those 4 boxes, he grabs the whole trolley. You drop the 1 box that you had and keep running.
Okay, that's our legal advice, but
Yes. And then live your whole rest of your life on that money and never commit a crime again, because once there's a pattern, they'll get you.
the point of this is that this is why you should really think about your encryption workflows if you're the kind of person who cares about encryption.
If you actually care about encryption, we've talked about it a lot on the show before. The one thing I'll just say, which is always the rule, is if you want the encryption to actually work and keep the feds out and keep other people out, it's going to be at least a little bit, probably a lot of hassle. You have to be willing to deal with that hassle.
Pretty much. But in this case, the worrying part is that the government is actually going after private keys.
Then they can ask for whatever they want.
Yeah, and they're probably going to get it because of these secret bullshit court orders.
Oh.
Anyway, things of the day. I'm a fan of a few Robin Hood movies. I like Men in Tights.
My favorite one's that Disney one, isn't it?
I really like the Fox Disney one. Well, literally, he's a fox.
Yep.
They're all furry. I like that one, but I don't know if it holds up. I have not seen it since I was very young. I liked, when I was younger, the Robin of Locksley, Robin Hood Men of Thieves one with Kevin Costner. I don't know if that one holds up, though.
I don't know. There's so many of them, I can't even separate them in my mind.
That was the one that made
anymore.
Robin Hood popular again. That was a big deal. That movie was huge when it came out.
All right.
But I don't know if it holds up. But there's one Robin Hood that I don't think many of you have watched. And it turns out the entire thing is on YouTube. This is the 1922 silent Robin Hood.
Well, isn't that public domain, 1922?
I think so.
Yeah.
1922. It's online, remastered. The quality is better than you would expect. It's really.
Well, I mean,
looks really good.
a lot of films from that era were lost, but not that one. That one was a big deal. So it's wasn't.
Okay. The first comment on YouTube is "Made Marion as Butters." So now I got to watch this and see what they're talking about.
Okay.
Wow, the comments are
That
actually
could mean
all...
so many things. So there's so many Butters episodes.
I know. $5 says that everybody that was in this film, along with the production team and the directors, are probably dead by now.
Maybe when that guy says Butters, he doesn't mean the South Park character. He means something else.
I can't imagine anything else. That
Urban
would mean.
Dictionary for Butters.
I don't want to look at Urban Dictionary for Butters.
I'm going to.
You're going to? Because I'm not going to.
Okay. You just keep talking.
Now, you can watch this movie. I have not watched it yet. I would like to watch it, but I will warn you. It is 2 hours, 12 minutes, and 56 seconds long. And it is a silent film.
Okay, so Urban Dictionary number 1, Butters, a sweet little boy from South Park. He's so stupid and cute. Don't you just want to hug him?
I do.
Number 2 for Butters on Urban Dictionary, ugly. Don't fancy yours much. She's well Butters.
I guess
This
it's
means
short
ugly
for
when used to
Butterface.
describe a person. I think it comes from Butterface.
That's what I would assume. All right, I'm looking for Maid Marian in here now. I can't find her. Oh, she's cute if that's Maid Marian. I assume that's Maid Marian. No, that's her Yep, that's not her. That's the woman who was the chicken in the Disney one. I know them by their animal type.
Sure.
Anyway, what do you got for me?
So, it's Monday. We like programming. We like games. Here's this website, puzzlescript.net. And what puzzlescript.net lets you do is on the left side, you can code. And on the right, it makes a puzzle game from your code. And it basically lets you code puzzle games straight in the browser and share the puzzles with people.
Huh.
And it's actually kind of really cool and pretty easy, but also for reals programming and not some bullshit where there's a GUI and you program in the GUI. And it sort of makes those kind of puzzles that are like Lolo-ish, where you walk around and push things. It basically makes that kind of puzzle like a Lolo style.
Lolo 1 was good, 2 was good, 3 is kind of shit.
Hey, if you don't know Lolo, go grab your NES emulator.
Just play Lolo.
Play Lolo. You can just figure it out. You don't need instructions. You can read instructions online if you really need help. That is a puzzle game that holds up big time.
That was a puzzle game for all time. Lolo and Lolo 2. Lolo 3 is some bullshit because there's some timing-based puzzles.
Dude, that shit is crazy hard. I mean, Choo Choo Rocket's got nothing on Lolo.
Well, Choo Choo Rockets was more of a Twitch game.
Yeah, but it also had puzzle factor of knowing what the fuck to do.
Yeah, but I only ever played Choo Choo Rockets in 4-player multiplayer. Because that is the only way to play that game.
The single player is kind of puzzly.
Yeah, forget that. 4-player multiplayer, that shit is bananas. Bananas.
Sure.
So, in the meta moment, the book club book is Stasiland. I assume Scott is going to finish it soon. It's kind of short.
I haven't read it since that one time I read it.
In the time that you have not read it, I've read like 4 more Ian M. Banks books. For real. I also read Catching Fire.
Not that I couldn't have read them, but I've just been doing all these other things instead.
Yeah, well, what's the whole point of this? Read a book? Kids should read?
If you would pick a book, I felt like reading.
So you don't care about overreach of government surveillance?
I do.
Era?
I just don't not motivated to read nonfiction, really.
Okay, well, you realize it's going to be all nonfiction.
Fine, I'm
Down
going
to
to
the
get the
end.
most possible fiction.
What could you possibly pick that I would not enjoy?
Super fiction. It's like double fiction. It says fiction,
There's only one book in the world you could pick that I probably would not enjoy, but I would read anyway, read quickly, and then give you shit about it. And that would be the third book in the Mr. Nice Guy's Penis Adventures.
We should just read like
AKA
Clifford
the
Big
Kingkiller
Red Dog
Chronicle by
or
Patrick Rothfuss.
Berenstein Bears.
So get this, the CTO of my company
Mm-hmm.
totally is reading the Kingkiller Chronicle and likes it. I know this because he told me about like tabletop and all this PAX stuff. He's like, yeah, you go to PAX, right? I heard Patrick Rothfuss was there. Holy shit. And I was like, oh yeah, Mr. Nice Guy
Some people seem to really like him.
and his penis adventure.
Yeah.
That's all. If you haven't read that book club book, seriously, it's a nice guy going around with his dick. That's pretty much the plot. And I guess there's a king who gets
The
killed. but that
fedora
didn't
is
happen yet.
it's a book where the fedora is the most powerful guy in all the land.
Oh my God, he was born in a fedora.
Pretty much.
We've got video on the internet. We got our forum. If you want to join the forum, email us because we turned off.
Well, it's sort of even that's not working. I sent someone an invite who asked for it. Only one person has asked in that time period. And I sent them the invite, and they clicked on the link in the invite, and there was a server error.
Dude, we had the vanilla guy on the show once. Why don't we call him and be like, yo, dog.
He won't help us because we're not paying money. So to get this problem solved, basically we had to give Vanilla a lot of monies, which is why I asked on the forum, like, if anyone wants to pay.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, it's an
Give
issue.
us time.
It's becoming more of an issue slowly. It wasn't a big deal before, but
It's entropy, but give us time. The reason we're slow on fixing that is that we've been doing a ton of video. We're streaming stuff. We have resumed production of Geeknights Presents. In fact, I've got an episode. I've got Premiere open right now. And I see I'm making a funny face. Scott's got his ring finger out, and he's kind of stroking it.
Yep.
There's
All
a
right.
Sea King.
let's check the calendar. This weekend, New York Comic Con, we're not going.
Yeah, we're not only we're not going, I kind of want to do a show on why we're not going.
Whatever. Next weekend after that, Burning Con 2013.
I'm running the most creatively titled
The
session ever.
Pentaclagon.
Let sleeping dogs die.
Also, a ton of Netrunner tournaments in New York. Then nothing else really on the calendar until MagFest.
Magfest.
In New Year's
Hot.
2014.
Hot!
Eh,
Oh, it didn't clip. Yes.
Okay,
This mixer is so great.
sure.
That was a raw. That did not clip, and yet it was raw. I'm not compressing the signal at all on the inserts.
Okay.
Anyway, so yeah, follow all our stuff. If you like our videos and want us to make more of them faster, get them linked to on things and popular.
If suddenly we become really popular and someone gives us money or something, maybe we could even host the
I
forum
mean, one of you
somewhere
kids
better.
linked to our anime. Oh, we reviewed all that anime before it came out, and one of you linked to it on Reddit, and it got like 10,000 views immediately, and was like, there was a great thread of the few fanboys mad about it, and the silent majority very happy about it. Get that to happen to a few more videos, and we might start doing video a little bit faster.
Anyway,
We might fix the forum a little bit faster.
is there anything else to discuss?
Not really.
Okay.
Not really. Geek Night should be going pretty solidly for a while, though. The first week of November, I might be back in Istanbul and out of the way.
Why don't you just move there already?
Kind of Islamic in the government.
Oh, is that a problem?
Not a lot of free speech because of that.
Oh, is that a problem?
Yeah, it's a problem in a lot of places in the world. It's also a
Yeah.
problem there.
That's a shame.
Nah, can't really bike there. No biking.
Oh,
Biking just doesn't happen there.
That's a shame.
Weather's nice though, and
Why
there's a
can't, if
subway.
there's nice weather, why can't you bike?
You can't bike there. The roads are unbikeable.
Okay.
No one bikes. In fact, I mentioned that I bike as a hobby, and someone said, and I
Do
quote,
they even have bicycles? They must have bicycles.
they know of bicycles.
There has to be a bike shop in Istanbul.
Yes, people will mountain bike, but nobody uses bikes to transport themselves in Istanbul.
Istanbul on bike, 2 tires, 2 continents. Let me read about this website.
Basically, the roads are death traps for bikes. There's no bike paths, and the sidewalks are pretty much all
This
cobblestone.
is all off-road type biking.
Yes, if you want to bike in a city, 1, you have to have a death wish. and
Bike
2,
tour of Istanbul.
Yes. That would be not fun at all.
Are there any companies? Okay. Are there any companies that do bicycle-led guided tours of Istanbul? I've done these in Amsterdam and Berlin with companies like this
Okay,
one.
2 of the most bikeable cities in the world.
Answer number 1, if I'm honest, I wouldn't feel like biking across Istanbul. It's a very hilly city with steep cobblestone streets in the older parts and a terrible traffic. Response 2, I agree with Patara. Even if someone is offering such a tour, I wouldn't do it.
I saw
Answer number 3, like others well said, Istanbul is a very hilly city. It would be very difficult to ride unless you're a good biker. There was no such service.
What my friend said to me, and I'm going to quote them pretty directly, biking in Istanbul, you would die. That is exactly what he said. And then, how do you bike in New York? And I was like, we have bike lanes. He was like, a bike lane. You mean a lane that's just for bikes?
Anyway.
So yeah. Well, a while ago, we did a show. We talked about HVAC and cooling and servers and
That
things.
was a long time ago.
But I realized something. I realized a couple of things. One, I didn't learn any of this at RIT, really. Like, RIT kind
You
of...
have to take it. You don't learn that in technology classes, right? You learn that in, like, vocational school, or engineers, you learn it, right? Because engineers learn about heating
But
and
yet,
cooling.
IT people need to know this stuff.
Yeah.
And I learned other similar things, like cable management, wiring houses.
It's
like
something an architect would learn, right? There's like a crossover there between architects, engineers, that sort of thing.
Yeah, but like in IT, at RIT, I took classes where there were drywall walls, and we had to cut for panels and run cables through them and do everything like you would in a residential building.
Yep.
Like, we did all that stuff. But for whatever reason, we didn't learn anything other than the bare bone basis of HVAC. So I want to kind of take a page from some of the older how-to episodes we did and talk about a very specific problem in cooling that many of you young kids might run into going out into the industry out there, like your first job in IT, and how to solve it without fucking everything up.
because you're not going to go from nothing to big data center. And big data centers are all weird. They all do different things for the heating and cooling.
Yep, and
right?
they already
Like-
have something in place.
Yeah,
You just
like-
have to use it.
Exactly. Like, look at what Facebook has in place. They have like these ridiculous, like, giant slow fans with this water. You can see a video on YouTube about it.
But
It's
Scott's
crazy.
right. If you're in the job of designing the data center, you already know this stuff.
Exactly.
If you just get a job working at the data center, even if no one tells you anything, you can go there for the first time, go to your rack, look to the left and to the right, and there's 2 other racks that are set up correctly. Just do what they did.
Yep.
Look at their rack and buy the same parts if you have to.
Mm-hmm.
But the other reason I bring this up is that if you're an intern or a co-op or it's your first IT job, this is the kind of job that the people who already work at the company will give to you to fix because they don't want to deal with it and they don't care.
Yeah, usually any company, right, no matter how big the company is, even if their stuff is in a data center, every office has a server closet. Even if there's nothing in that server closet besides like the connection to the internet, the router, and a bunch of switches, there's still a closet, and most likely, I've never seen a case in my life where it was literally just the routers and switches. There's other stuff in there, right?
Yep, it might be your phone system. It might be your Outlook cache.
It could be.
Squid
It could actually
proxies.
often be like the actual active domain servers.
Or at least a copy of it.
Right,
The local
or there'll
one.
be some sort of firewall things like those Barracuda things or all kinds
Don't
of...
buy those things,
I
but I
know, but
digress.
there'll be lots of things... The things that are computers that are generating heat on a rack, right?
Yes.
That aren't just switches. Not that switches don't make heat either.
Now, also, many of you will be in the situation I'm in. I'm just gonna go through this exact situation. You are pointed at a small server room that's in the office. It's got, I don't know, maybe 10 or so servers in it, some telco equipment, maybe your like FiOS business thing is in there. Maybe there's some like other equipment laying around. It's a little room, and you're in a building where it doesn't really have the best AC. So you've got this room with servers in it, and there's some
No one
manner-
puts the closet in like a really well air-conditioned room. It's a closet. They cram it in the tiniest space possible to save money.
often without the permission of the building itself.
Yeah, a lot of these buildings, especially New York, are old before the time of computers. There wasn't a room made for this stuff, right? You're just basically finding a closet, or even in a lot of cases, you'll just have like the person who's renovating the office just make 2 walls in a corner to create a box. And then they'll install a rack by screwing it into the floor, and there you go, is a rack.
Now, the final point, the room I'm going to talk about is the kind of room where the servers in it are kind of important, but not that important.
Right. You're not. If your company is so dumb, they've put their like.
Which you're going to run into this
a
anyway.
lot of them are that dumb. Yes, most in fact. But if your company's that dumb that your super essential data is pretty much in this room and only in that room, you're in big trouble already. See episodes about backups and such. But you still that room. It might not be the most important thing. It might be the end of the world if it fails, but it's still bad if something happens to just routers and switches. No one in the office has internet. Good job. Now no one can work.
Yep.
That sucks.
Imagine there are jobs where that wouldn't stop you.
Sure.
I can't imagine having a job like
but
that.
In my office, if
like
the
that.
internet goes out for too long, people just go home.
Oh, if the internet, if I lost internet connectivity, I would pretty much, I would take my laptop down to Starbucks. And
people do that, yep.
If it didn't get fixed within like an hour, I'd just go home.
That's what we do.
So, the situation
But I guess if your job is to fix that, you have something to do and you can't go home.
So here's the situation I was confronted with. Shitty old building, get to a new company, there's the system administrator leaves or whatever, but doesn't really matter because everything's kind of going fine, and you have...
all your stuff is not on those in the closet.
You have system administrators dealing with the real servers that matter everywhere else.
Yeah, the clouds, data
But
centers.
I'm confronted with a closet. The closet has a sign on it that says, and I quote, "Do not close this door ever under any circumstances." And it's printed and taped to the door.
Uh-oh.
And it's loud in that room. It's loud, and you hear it in the office.
Uh-oh.
I peek my head in this room, and I see a rack with 10 or so servers on it.
Is the wiring nice?
Oh, the wiring's acceptable.
Okay.
It is not how I would wire things.
That's usually the first sign, though, right?
It's the sign of competence. If you see a rack,
which is a rat's nest,
and it's a rat's nest, back away slowly, or make it your job to fix it, because once you fix it, no one else will ever be able to touch it again.
Get a fluke first.
Yeah, that was my job many years ago, and I am. It was kind of like with authors or writing. Like there are books that are well written enough to be enjoyable, like The Hunger Games. Perfectly well written, but I do not appreciate their writing. They're merely functional. They are not good. This is wired functionally. It's fine, but it's no Hawthorne. It's no Cavalier and Clay. It's no Prince of Nothing.
Sure.
So whatever. The wiring's fine. The room's fine, but it's got this huge black AC unit just churning, and there's two rabbit ear sort of tubes coming out of the top of it, just going into the room, not going into the ceiling or anything, just going into the room.
So the air conditioner is doing nothing.
Kinda, yeah.
Wait, it's actually making the room hotter, in fact.
So
just by the laws of physics.
There's another consumer level air conditioner.
Okay.
That also has two.
Does people not know how air conditioners work?
I don't think most people do. That also has two of these rabbit ear tubes out of the top, running, and that one is running all the time. All the time. And the door is held open. And I hear a story that one time, a long time ago, someone closed the door, and then the room overheated and the servers all crashed.
Yeah.
So they have to leave the door open because the magic swirls make everything work. And I ignored it. Wasn't my job. Didn't care.
You didn't just take one of the hoses on the black one and stick it, the hot hose, and send it out
to
the
where?
window? The window?
To where? There's no window. Completely interior room.
Oh.
No.
There's not like a duct you can cut a hole in?
There could have been, but it hadn't been cut.
You could at least drag it so it's coming out the door?
No. This is the first rule of IT. If it is not your job, don't fucking touch it.
Just drag
if
the
you
hot
touch
hose
it, you
so
own
it shoots directly out the front door.
So, yeah, I could do something like that, but you touch it, you own it. If you get a job, if you're an intern and you get hired at a company and they hire you for real, and you once set up their phone system, that is your job no matter what you do for the rest of your time at that company. You touch it, you own it. At least in small to mid-sized companies.
Okay.
So if you're hired to do X and you see problem Y, and it took me a long time in my own professional career to learn this, unless you really, really are invested in this company and you have the clout to be able to disentangle yourself from it later, don't touch Y. Let whoever's doing Y do Y, and unless you are asked by the people who are your bosses to touch Y, just ignore it. So I ignored this. And then the guy who had set it up, who apparently had just sort of inherited it from another guy from distant past, no one in the office currently really knew why it was set up the way it was. So,
and no one knew how an air conditioner worked.
So one day, it Smelled smoke. Some smoke.
Of course.
So I go over there and I see that the mini air conditioner, the outlet had caught fire.
Of course.
So I put the fire out.
With a fire extinguisher?
No, I just kind of hit it and then I unplugged it.
Okay.
It's like this smoldering fire. I stepped on it.
So that was the air conditioner that was actually doing something.
Yeah. So I decided I had to fix this. So the first thing you need to know about air conditioners is that for a sealed room like this, which is usually where the server rooms go, you're not going to waste your corner office for servers, especially in New York. So this server room is always going to be some interior room with probably no actual ventilation of any kind.
That's a problem.
There are two kinds of sealed room air conditioners. One of them has a single hose. Hot air blows out of this hose.
Yes.
Those are bullshit air conditioners. If you buy an air conditioner like that, you fucked up.
Yep.
Because they cause a negative pressure situation. If you put that in this room, Jen, just put it in the room, it's just going to slowly heat the room up.
Yeah, the hot air will come out of that hose and heat up the room because it's an interior room. You're supposed to use that when there's a window and you can throw that hose out the window and thus sending the hot from the room out the window.
Now, those systems still suck anyway, because let's assume that I vent the hot air into the ceiling.
Okay.
I get rid of it.
And it's not going to come down because hot air goes up.
Wouldn't matter. I'd still be fucked because this system, one, is now pressurizing the ceiling unless it can get out somewhere. But let's ignore that for now. It's also depressurizing the room.
Wouldn't it be depressurizing the ceiling and pressurizing the room?
No, so it's exhausting.
The room is cold.
Air is being forced out that exhaust tube into the ceiling.
Oh, yeah, but hot air is lower pressure than the...
No, it's the air pressure from the fan, not the heat.
You have a fan basically blowing out without any fans blowing in.
So
right?
much like a negative pressure case, the room you're air conditioning now, let's ignore the ceiling for a minute,
is sucking in the air from the outside rooms.
From wherever it can get it. So
which is going to be the hot air you just blew out.
So if you shut the door, it's going to pull it through the cracks and pull that hot air right the fuck back into the room.
That's right.
And if you leave the door open, you're basically trying to air condition your entire office now.
Yep.
Instead of just that room. And yeah, that doesn't work because your office is probably big.
Of course.
If single hose air conditioners are useless in 95% of situations, never ever buy them.
It's good for your house if you want to air condition your whole house.
It's terrible for your house. Well, yeah, your whole house.
Right. Your whole house.
But then how many of these units are you going to need? Because one of those units...
Well, remember Alex had that one monster one.
Yeah, that would not cool this apartment.
No, not this apartment. Maybe mine. Work on mine.
Maybe yours if you close the bedroom door.
Yeah, well, I mean, I basically have two monster ones.
You can go to websites and calculate how many BTU of cooling you need and all that. I'm not getting into that stuff. You can figure that out later. So I had to fix this now because I've invested interest.
So you went to the internet to buy an air conditioner.
Yeah. So first thing I did is I looked around the room and I looked at the big air conditioner that wasn't doing anything.
That was just blowing both hoses into the room?
Yep. It was basically just a big fan circulating in the room. And then the other air conditioner was blowing cold air into the servers, and then hot air was coming out. So it was keeping the servers kind of cool at the expense of everything else in the room, which is why it burned out. So here's how I fixed this situation. One, I threw away the busted air conditioner.
The one that was on fire?
Yes. So now you have a room. Let's assume you bought or somehow got a 2-hose air conditioner, meaning one hose sucks air in, the other hose pushes air out. And then independent of that, there's a filtered intake that takes air from the room in, cools it, and puts the cool air back out into the room. Two completely independent cycles of air.
Yep.
So I found the interface for a drop ceiling for these hoses. I put it in the ceiling.
Those are some long hoses.
Yeah, the hoses are like 10 feet long.
Oh, pretty good.
So I route them to the ceiling. And the top of this has a nice deflector unit. So the intake is coming from one side, and then it's exhausting to the other side, the other direction. So it's going to heat up that area, but I don't know the pressure situation in the ceiling. I figure I poke my head up there. It's pretty big, and I feel I can get away with this. So I set this up, I set the unit to cool, and I close the door. And it
Close
works.
the door. Did people freak out when you closed the door?
Yes. People freaked out. So I took the sign and I put it on the fridge instead because I thought that was kind of funny. Later, we got an intern who I saw him. He went over to the fridge. He opened it. He closed the fridge after he got his drink. Then he looked at the sign. Then he kind of looked around like he wasn't quite sure what the deal was.
Should I leave the fridge open?
And then he walked away from it. So I considered that
sounds like
success.
it's a good one. Keep him.
So Eventually, the unit shut itself down.
What? Why?
Okay, so I got an
because it was cold enough and it has a thermostat.
Nope. So I got an SNMP trap because I set all that up too. Duh.
Oh, of course.
So I go in there and I look because it said head pressure high. So sure enough, there's two things going on here. The ceiling is a closed pressure system.
Yep.
That full ceiling doesn't actually go anywhere, except it goes a little bit into the drop ceiling of a neighbor's office.
Okay.
So I learned later he just kept turning his AC down because it kept getting really hot over there for some reason. He couldn't figure out why. But that's a separate thing. So the reason I had a high head pressure was for two reasons. One, the system was set up wrong. I should have looked at what the other people had set it to. They set the temperature that the AC unit was striving for to be 60 fucking degrees Fahrenheit.
Okay.
So, rookie mistake number one. If you ever set up an air conditioner for cool servers, you might think colder is better. That is not true.
No. The server's
Cold enough is better.
Yes, it doesn't matter if the servers are like, look at your computer's temperature. Is it 75? Is it 80? Well, what temperature does the computer overheat? 100? 120? So if it's 90, the computer still works, right? Right? Will the computer shorten its life or become damaged at 90? Well, no. Then why not 90? Why spend more energy to go down to 80 for no benefit whatsoever?
So if you set an air conditioner too low, I've seen a lot of people do this in their houses. Oh, it's too hot in here, and the air conditioner is already running. They'll turn the temperature all the way down on the air conditioner. That doesn't do anything.
Does nothing.
Except eventually ruin your air
The
conditioner.
air conditioner is either on or off.
Well, the compressor, the condenser is on or off, independent of the fan anyway. So I set that to a reasonable temperature, which for a server room like this, set it to somewhere between 76 and 78 degrees.
Sounds good.
That is fine.
Yeah.
So it was running all
That's
the
what
time.
my computer is.
That was one problem. The second problem was that the hoses were directional. And whoever had put the hoses on, just put them on backwards when they set it up. I didn't even look at that.
They're not just plastic tubes?
They're plastic expanding tubes, right?
How could they be directional? They're just empty tubes.
This is why I'm doing this show, because this shit isn't obvious.
I didn't know this.
I only knew this because I dealt with this shit when I worked at that hospital. So a lot of those tubes are directional because if you have a kinky tube that expands and contracts, right? You know those tubes.
Yeah.
If you collapse
That
part
was
of it,
already the tube I was imagining before you said anything.
so if you collapse it, what shape is that collapse thing on the inside?
Just a smaller circle than...
Not quite, because it folds over on itself. So in one direction, it'll fold where the things, say the air is blowing upward, right?
Okay.
And I put this thing on top. The folds, if you have it folded, will be aiming upward as well.
So I'm imagining one that's just sort of like an accordion, and when you just squeeze it, it just gets narrower, basically.
Yeah, that's not how any of those things are.
Oh,
like.
they're not accordion shaped?
They're not just accordion
okay.
shaped. Because then how would it kink and hold its shape?
Oh, that kind.
Yeah.
Oh.
So let's imagine I reverse this. I put the wrong tube on. So air's trying to blow out, and all the baffles from where it's folded are pointing down, and there's basically, it causes these little crevices that will ridiculously reduce the amount of air that can be pumped through them at any given time.
Yep.
Your efficiency will go to shit.
Yep.
So if you buy an air conditioner, read the manual. It'll say something like, this one goes out, this one goes in.
There weren't
Don't
little
ignore
arrows
that.
on the tubes?
There weren't.
Okay.
But you can tell by the shape. If you don't have the documentation, just kink one and then look at it and think, what does this look like on the inside? And you will figure out which was the right one and which one's the wrong one. So I did that, and everything was 100% fine.
Okay.
The end. That's all I had to do.
And you closed the door?
I closed the door and left it closed.
Now you own it?
Yeah, now I own it.
What did people in the office? I guess all of them are dumber than you, 100% of them?
No, they ignored it because it had been working fine.
Oh.
No one touched it until it broke.
But they didn't realize there was something wrong with just simply the fact that you couldn't close
Whoever
the door?
originally set it up didn't know how this shit worked.
And no one else even looked?
No one else even looked in the room.
If there was a door that said, do not close ever, and it was making noise and bothering everyone, I consider that to be broken.
It wasn't enough noise to really bother anyone. It's just I noticed it because I noticed that stuff.
Yeah.
But so I own it. So another problem happened. One day, I got a sensor warning that said humidity too high.
Uh-oh.
So I go in there.
The air conditioner doesn't dehumidify?
It does.
I mean, I never seen an air conditioner that doesn't.
Yes. So what did air conditioners do with the water?
They have a little hose that drops it outside.
Not all.
onto passersby on the sidewalk.
So most of these dual hose conditioners don't do
they
that.
keep it in a little bucket?
No, they have a bucket.
And you empty it?
They have a bucket in case that has to be emptied sometimes, maybe. But what they actually do is use that hot air going out. They evaporate it into that.
Oh, okay.
It's really nice.
Not bad.
The main big unit, however, removes so much humidity that it also has a pump that'll pump it out of this little tube, and it'll pump it, you can put it up into the ceiling, over and down.
Into a drain?
Into a drain.
Yeah, okay.
So I got another
drain
SMP.
is good. You send like a tiny hose to the bathroom.
Exactly. So we did that. That was already set up. It went through the ceiling. It was fine. So I got another SMP trap one day, water pan full, and I go in there, and the floor is just fucking flooded.
How could it be? Where did the humidity come from? Did someone pee in it? I don't know.
Well, this was during the height of summer.
Okay.
So, basically, I do a little experimentation. I look at this tube, and I'm like, this tube goes into the ceiling and comes down. So I found an air duster. I stuck it into the end of the tube, and I blew, and it was 100% clogged.
Oh, that little hose got clogged.
So I ripped it out of the ceiling. It was full of the most mold. All the mold.
So you got a new hose?
So I ordered a new hose on Amazon. It came
What
the
did you
next
do
day.
before the hose showed up? Was it just more water everywhere, or did you turn the servers off? Or what?
So if you unplug the thing, it knows, I can't pump. So it just holds it until it gets full while
So
evaporating
you just emptied
it.
the bucket by hand?
So I emptied it once, and then it was fine until I got a new hose.
Okay.
And then I put a new hose on, and it was fine.
Cool.
But most people wouldn't think to actually check the hose.
I would not have checked the hose for clogs.
That's the first thing you do.
I would have gone to the other end of the hose, and if I saw nothing coming out, maybe. Because I would have definitely checked the end of the hose to make sure water was coming out.
Now, had the connector been broken or something, or the hose or the hose been clogged in a certain way, it would have detected it. But it basically pumped the water out, but then the hose was busted, so then it would squeeze its way back out the bottom of the hose and leak. So learn how those hoses work. Read the manual. The manual will say something like, the hose has a maximum lift of X, and the hose diameter it'll tell you all this stuff in the manual. Read that manual.
It's like a garden hose?
No, like a tiny hose. The hose is like 2
okay.
or 3 millimeters.
Okay.
Oh my God, if it was a garden hose that was clogged, what the fuck?
That's what I'm-
So here's my problem. That unit eventually died.
So you had to just turn all the servers off till you got a new one?
No, because I bought a backup unit a long time ago.
Nah, there you go.
The backup unit is just a 2 hose, like what Alex has, a normal air conditioner.
Oh, so you basically got a crappy one.
And I put it in the room, and I set its temperature to like 80 with the fan always going, and I put it in front of the rack. So that if anything went wrong, it'll at least be blowing cold air directly over the servers to keep them fine. And it turns out, because that old unit had been a legacy unit, that this backup unit was more than capable of keeping the entire room and all the servers cool on its own. That other unit was way over provisioned, so I just didn't replace it.
Okay.
The moral is, learn this stuff and kind of just wing it. And I think if you remember all the problems I ran into from this episode, you're unlikely to run into different problems from that.
You will definitely run into a different problem. But one thing you can do that's an option for the small server room that is often unexplored is to completely seal the server rack in and air condition just that box.
Yep, and do it all ghetto with cardboard boxes.
Exactly. If your room is no good and you can't get a good room, just seal the servers in somehow. Make it an airtight seal around. It doesn't have to be super airtight, just as airtight as your PC case is, right? Just around all the servers. It can be just a door on the front and back of the rack or something. And then you can just use fans and just maybe an air conditioner connected just to that. And that'll just take care of everything. And then though the room might be hot or the office or whatever, but at least the servers will never, screw up or anything.
But if you run into a problem that I didn't cover, really, if your job is to fix this kind of thing,
a rat bit the hose that the water was going through.
Just go look and apply the same problem-solving skills you apply to software and networks to the physical device. Being a handyman, it's not like it's magic knowledge, or being an HVAC, it's not magic. It's just look at the problem.
Yeah, HVAC guy, unless he owns his own HVAC business, makes less money than we do. It's because his skills are not that special. It's something you can learn.
Well, the higher order skills are special, like figuring out the air pressure differentials.
I'm talking about HVAC guy who installs your central air conditioner outside your house.
Yeah.
Right? It's like I could learn to do that if I could pick one up.
But
Which I
just
can't.
apply basic problem solving skills. This stuff's easy to fix. And if you're an IT guy and you just fix these problems as the intern and it all just starts working perfectly, people will think that you're the most ridiculously competent IT guy ever and you're set.
Well, also, even if they don't think highly of you, they might hate you because you have shamed them. It's like they had that door open all that time, and you're like, "Look, I shut the door."
Yeah,
And
no,
it's
don't
like,
call attention to it.
"Oh,
Don't be like,
you're stupid.
don't be
you're
like,
stupid.
don't
you're
be like,
stupid."
I closed motherfucking door. Just be like, I fixed it and don't say anything else.
Yep.
It's like, I got the room's fine. It's all taken care of. And that's the kind of stuff you have to be able to do, especially if you someday work for a small company or a non-tech company, but you're the tech guy. Tech guy also has to deal with electrical problems. Tech guy also has to deal with air conditioners and water pipes and all that stuff.
If you're everything tech guy.
If you're the tech guy for a non-tech company, you're going to have to deal with all that stuff. This has been Geek Nights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music, Kat Lee for web design, and Brando K for the logos.
Be sure to visit our website at frontrowcrew.com for show notes, discussion, news, and more.
Remember, Geek Nights is not one, but 4 different shows. Sci-Tech Mondays, Gaming Tuesdays, Anime Comic Wednesdays, and Indiscriminate Thursdays.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.